Hey, I'm back with another update. I've done about 5 updates post mastectomy to talk about some of the ways that my body has healed and things that I've done along the way to ease the recovery process. I keep forgetting to say in these videos that I have not done chemo pre-surgery or post-surgery, and I have not done any radiation. So talking about scars and incisions, after my second surgery, I had started to do a scar cream or salve that I have a video I'll post up above and down below, how to make it. It's not super easy to find the ingredients, not as easy as usual for me, but a really good salve for preventing scars. And so I started using that around the time of my second surgery, up on the upper part of my scars that were not re-incised. And I waited a whole 3 weeks to start using that salve on the ones that were down below that were cut into a second time. And I think I checked in with you last at the 1 month point, so at the point right before my second surgery. And so the pain, of course went up again after my second surgery, but went down really quickly, and I was able to get off of gabapentin after just a couple weeks after my second surgery. And that was a huge relief to have the pain so manageable. And I still have a lot of numbness in this area. My ribs are not sensitive anymore at all. My armpit is a little tiny bit sensitive, but I wouldn't call it painful. It's more just like a weird numb pressure feeling that I get when I'm touching or cleaning my armpit or underarm. Stiffness likewise has gone away in the last week, really dramatically. So I have full range of motion of this arm. I have no limitation at all, which is kind of shocking to me because my friend Jenny, who had surgery and then chemo and radiation after, she took years to recover her range of motion. So I had no idea that with just surgery it would be so much smoother. After 2 surgeries and just 2 months after the first one, 1 month after the second one, I have full range of motion again and no stiffness at all. I haven't started to do formal physical therapy yet. I've done a little bit here at home, which my physical therapist who I met with before my first surgery told me I could do some of these little exercises now before I meet with her. And I haven't done anything, nothing weight bearing at all on this side. Certainly, just mainly my main exercise is still walking, and at work I'm just still walking. I'm not doing any lifting or anything like that. But the stiffness has gone way down. The tightness and the pressure in general, just walking around and moving my body, also is almost non-existent. So I'm super happy about that. Even that sensation that I used to get when I would drink something hot or cold and when it would run down behind my pectoral muscle, I described that in one of my videos about what to expect after a mastectomy. And I didn't know if that was something that I would have for a long time, but it's gone away now. I don't feel anything in my pectoral muscle at all, so I can drink the coldest of drinks and the hottest of soups, and nothing will be felt back there by my nerves. And again, it wasn't painful. It was just like this really strong sensation of like, oh, there's something moving on the back of my pectoral muscle. That's interesting. But even that is gone now. The prosthesis experiment, let's call it. I've been wearing a prosthesis for about 3 weeks, pretty much every day. I'll maybe take 1 day off a week if I don't leave the house. It's gone okay. It's not as troublesome as I envisioned it to be, but it is a little bit of a hassle. I think the technology is as good as it gets with the amoena lifelike prosthesis. It's heavy enough to where it does almost balance out the weight of this side, and it's heavy enough to where it stays put pretty well on my rib cage as it sits inside the bra. the bras that I bought that I talked about in my video about my favorite bras are really comfortable. I don't have that same skin irritation problem, so I don't need my bras to be super comfortable anymore, but they are nice and comfortable on my skin. I would say, if anything, the coverage is just not quite enough for me on the right side, on my non-mastectomy side. So because the prosthesis is embedded inside my bra on the left side, it kind of owns the bra, and it kind of, takes its own priority and shifts around as it wants to, and then this side I have to kind of readjust a couple times a day. Not a big deal. It's enough of a deal though that I feel somewhat self-conscious in public, and I'm always tempted to readjust my rib cage band of my bra, the band here, to make sure things are lined up. So not my favorite thing, not something I think I will ever get used to, and so that's why I'm kind of relieved that I'm going to have another mastectomy and just even things out. I think I could live the rest of my life with a prosthesis in a bra like this, but I've talked about in other videos. Personally, for me, I feel more in tune with my body when I'm not wearing a prosthesis. I feel more myself. And it's part of my identity now that I'm flat on this side. And I really want to just not worry about a prosthesis. And I can't really explain why. One person was talking, I think, on a podcast I was listening to recently, about that we haven't always had breasts. When we were little girls, we didn't have breasts. We just had, kind of a flat chest. And I think that statement stirred something in me that was like, yeah, that's why I don't mind not having my breasts. Because there was a time I didn't have my breasts, and it was a good time. It was an innocent time in my life. And it's not on me to not have a breast anymore. It's somewhat familiar, actually. And I've also talked about how I don't like the fact that there's this weird little fold in my skin. So it's not ideal, but it is okay, and I don't want to hide it, and I don't want to cover it up and pretend that my breast is still here in its old way, in its old form. So I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but that's something very unexpected that I've been experiencing pretty much every day. I really like just being myself, and myself now has to do with being flat on one side. And I'd like it if the other side matched, and so I'd like to be myself with a flat on both sides. So since I got off gabapentin about 2 weeks and 2 days ago, my brain pretty quickly recovered from its little bit of fogginess, and I was able to start researching and have a very clear mind around research. I wouldn't say my brain is tip-top shape and on a good day anyway, so I still take lots of notes when I'm researching, but I'm glad to be able to read again. Gabapentin really stopped me from being able to read very well or for very long, because I think it messes with your optic nerve, and so I just have a lot of blurriness issues even when I was wearing my reading glasses. So really thrilled to be reading again now. That's one of the big benefits of being past the gabapentin stage in my recovery. But with the research stage of things, which I'm kind of coming to an end to now, I feel like I've gotten the bulk of the research covered. Of course, that brings in this new subject of survivorship and recurrence, which is really emotional, really defeating, something you just really have to reckon with and fight your way through, especially with lobular cancer. So not a fun chapter in the story. Not thrilled to have my brain back so that I can learn how impossible this cancer is to track over time and to find when it's recurred. So that's a drag. That's a real draggish part of this stage in my journey, but a really necessary one, and it brings up all the questions that I need answered and all the reasons why I need to find really good expert doctors. And so I'm still very determined to find the best doctors and get answers from not just one of them, but maybe 2 or 3 in separate opinions before I decide for sure to get my second mastectomy. a really cool part of this stage in recovery is because I have my brain back and I can talk sensibly to strangers again, I'm able to have a mentor. I signed up for a mentor and got one right away. And I'm thrilled to have the executive director of the Lobular Breast Cancer Alliance as my mentor. Who would have thought? So I can go straight to her with any questions I have as I'm combing through the research. And they are the source of much of the research. And so I'm thrilled to have a mentor. And I highly encourage you, once you have gotten off your pain pills, to pursue a mentor. No matter who you are, no matter what emotions you're dealing with, we all can benefit from having a mentor, and especially those of us who like to run from and deny the fact that we've just dealt with something traumatic. Having a mentor can really keep you in that state of honesty, and I haven't dealt with that yet, the temptation to run away and just forget about all this. But I think that long-term, a mentor can keep you in that really healthy space where you're reckoning with things until you've really dealt with everything grief-wise and learning what you need to learn so that you can be at peace long-term. So I'm back at work, which makes me feel like a normal human again, like my recovery is coming to an end maybe. Work, I'm performing really well at work. I'm still, able to think and calculate and be strategic in the ways that I used to, so that's so reassuring. I have had good energy even coming home from work on my work days, so I haven't had a lot of chronic fatigue issues, which really surprised me. I expected to have a lot more fatigue coming away from work, especially on my work days. So really grateful for my energy levels. A couple physical things that surprised me that are still happening that I wouldn't have expected to still be there are that my little pink drain hole wound is still very bright pink. It is still very pigmented. It's not a wound or a scab anymore. It's smooth skin, but it is very brightly colored still. So I don't know if that'll take a long time to blend back into my normal skin color, but that was something I was kind of surprised by, and I have started to put my scar salve on that to try to help it to speed along its recovery. It's not bothering me because it doesn't show. It's down here in my rib cage, but it's just a weird thing that I expected to go away by now. It makes sense when you think about it. You had a hole in your skin for a week that did not get to heal, so of course it's going to be upset about that, and the healing's going to be slow. The other thing that's really obnoxious, especially since it's just suddenly turned to winter in early November here in the Northwest, is that I'm wearing warmer clothes and I'm sweating a lot more. I'm still pretty cold. My hands and feet tend to be cold always, but I'm sweating, and my sweat on this side, on my surgery side, really smells bad. And I'm not used to that because I don't eat toxic things and use chemicals or nail polish or anything toxic in my life at all. I'm like the purest, most detoxed person in the world, and I have a whole nother channel on YouTube about detoxing your life because I learned about my probability for cancer 10 years ago, and I've been trying for 10 years to detox my life. Anyway, so I'm not used to the stinkiness coming out of this side of my body, and I've heard that people have experienced that with chemo, but I'm experiencing it just from all of the drugs they pumped me full of during my surgery 2 months ago. So if you're wondering what that's all about, you are not alone. There were lots of drugs, and of course they're going to have long-term, detoxing effects. And I think that's just a reminder that I need to do more hot baths, more saunas, and get this stuff out of me and sweat it out as much as I possibly can. Finally, I would say one of the best feelings ever in this journey was to resume driving and be able to drive myself to my massage appointments and still get massages, surprisingly. I haven't been laying on my chest for massages, but on my back. So anyway, it was really great. After 1 month, right before my second surgery, I started driving for a couple days. And then after about 3 weeks after 2 weeks after my second surgery, I started driving. And I was a little fearful and didn't have full range of motion. Still, I was a little stressed and stiff, but it worked out okay. And now I have full range of motion, no problem at all. So, so wonderful when you haven't been able to drive to be able to have that freedom again. So that's something that I still don't take for granted and I really enjoy a lot. So I think this is my last post-mastectomy update. I don't know, I might think of another reason to do another one. But I will definitely do comparison updates when I have my second mastectomy, if I do that, to compare my first journey with my second journey and things I learned and things I would do differently or that worked out better. So look for that in a few months. But in the meantime, I will be talking on my videos mostly about my regrets and maybe just questions that I wish I had asked my doctors and things I'm learning to ask even now as I'm doing the research. And probably I'll do a lot more about lobular cancer in particular. I'm really passionate about lobular because that's what I had and maybe what I still have. And I really want to connect with others that have it long term, both people in my area and people who aren't in my area. So that'll be really a big focus of this channel, probably within the next year or two. And after that, I'll probably talk a lot about menopause, and I don't know if I'll take any estrogen suppressing drugs along my journey or not. I haven't started that yet, but if I do, I will definitely be talking about that. It's not something I'm looking forward to, but I imagine it might be part of my story in the end. After talking to all the experts, I just want to know when to start it and how to manage it with my menopause that seems to be kind of starting to transition upon me now. So lots to talk about in the future, but this will be the end of my mastectomy recovery story for now. I'll see you in another video soon. Bye-bye.